It's so important to my clients and to me to make sure that I'm taking care of the health and the integrity of their natural nails. I'm gonna show you a couple tips and tricks how to remove gel polish quickly and easily at home with the Tweezerman Rose Gold Manicure Set. Gel polishes can be very damaging to the natural nails if not removed properly. The gel polishes themselves do not damage the nail. It's usually the application and the removal of the gel polish that causes the damage. We're gonna start by removing the shine off the polish with the nail file. This is a dual-sided nail file. One side is a 240 grit for natural nails, and the other side is a 180 grit for toenails or if you have acrylic or gels on. So we're gonna start with the 180 side, and we're just gonna buff back and forth on the surface of the nail, and we're gonna completely remove that shine. Now, depending on how thick your gel polish is applied, you can even thin it out a little bit to where the color starts to become translucent. Sometimes I find by thinning out the gel, it soaks off much quicker and it's faster and easier to thin it with the file than waiting for it to soak off with our hands in the remover. The key is to make sure that you don't file through the gel polish. We want to thin the gel polish without touching the natural nail. The 180 grit file is too coarse to do on the surface of the natural nail. Once the shine is off the surface of the nails, we want to soak the nails in remover. Now there's a couple of different options that you can buy online. There's clips that you can actually put remover and cotton in and you can clip them on the nails. There's packets that you can buy that you open up that have acetone and cotton inside and you just put the packet on your fingers. But one of the easiest ways, and probably the most likely you have these products at home, is to simply take a small amount of aluminum foil and you can cut these into squares, probably about a 4x4 inch, and then use a cotton ball. Using half a cotton ball, soak that in acetone and we're gonna apply it right on top of the gel polish. Then we're gonna take that square piece of aluminum foil and we're gonna wrap it around the nail and the cotton. So that way it holds the remover in. I also prefer 100% acetone because it's the strongest solvent out there that's going to effectively break down the gel polish. Also, it evaporates very quickly, so when you take it off, it's not sitting on the skin. If you try to use a non-acetone remover to take off your gel polish, you're going to be sitting there for a couple of weeks. So go straight to the 100% acetone. Now, I also recommend doing one hand at a time. You can do it on all 10 nails, but what I find out is by doing that, then you've got the wraps on one hand, and when you're trying to work on the other hand, it's cumbersome and the wraps wanna come off. So by doing one hand first, then doing the other hand, that ensures that you give it plenty of time to soak and it makes it so much easier to do the process. So we've removed the shine off the surface of the nail. We've applied cotton soaked in acetone on top of each nail, and we've wrapped that in the foil. Now, not only does the foil keep the acetone from evaporating, but it also holds in the heat from your fingers, and that heat speeds up the removal process. So those are two benefits by doing the cotton and foil that makes it my #1 choice. Once this is soaked for, I would say 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how thick the gel polish is that's on your nail, or how thin we've taken it with the file, because sometimes you just want to remove the shine and put them on, that's fine. The key to this is letting it soak as long as possible so that removal of the product is nice and simple. You should literally be able to just gently scrape it off the surface of the nail. Just lift the gel polish off. The acetone is actually going to cause the gel polish to swell up and start to lift off of the nail by itself, and then you should simply be able to remove it. Now, when you remove that, we're gonna use the dual end pushy and nail polish remover. We're gonna start with the nail polish remover side, and you can see it's this little loop, but it's also been filed flat, so you have a little bit of an edge used to push and remove the polish. Now, this has also been hand filed, so it's gentle on the surface of the nail and you don't have to worry about it scratching the natural nail. I start by removing the foil off of the little finger, then using the loop in, I'm going to start back at the cuticle and I'm going to remove the gel polish from the cuticle out towards the free edge. And the reason I'm going in this direction is because that's the same direction that the nail itself grows. Your natural nail is built kind of like in layers, like tiles on a roof. So they're overlapping each other from the cuticle out to the free edge. If you're pushing back towards the cuticle, you're actually pushing against those nail cells. And if the gel isn't soft enough to be removed and it's still attached to those cells, you're actually going to cause that gel to pull up some of those nail cells. And that's why a lot of times you'll see white spots after removing your gels. So always in the direction that the nail grows. If you start to remove the gel and you notice that you're having to scrape it and it's not coming up, stop. Don't continue to force it up or you're gonna force up nail cells with that. Put the foil and cotton back on and move to the next finger, or let the whole thing soak for just a little bit longer. The key is really how long you let it soak. Letting it soak the 10 minutes, you're gonna find makes it so much easier to remove, and it keeps the integrity of your natural nail versus trying to get it off in 5 minutes like some people like to do. Now that the gel is off all 10 of our nails, we're going to do our manicure, and that's where we're going to use the rounded side of the pushy to gently, in soft circular motions, push back the cuticle. Remember, again, we're not jabbing at this. And the good news is because you've been soaking, the cuticle should be a little bit softer. So you could actually remove the foil, remove the gel, turn and push back the cuticle at the same time. And this will help you or make it a little bit easier to push back the cuticle. So once we've pushed back the cuticle to even up the shape, we're going to reach for our rose gold fingernail clipper. The rose gold fingernail clipper has rounded blades so that you can follow the natural shape of the nail. So if I'm looking at the finger, I'm going to draw an imaginary line down the center of the nail, and then I'm going to cut from side to center, and then I'm going to determine my length and final shape by then cutting the center of the nail. Depending on the shape that you create, you can do that all with the shape of the fingernail clipper. Once you've pushed back cuticle, we filed the shape into our nails. We're gonna use the 240 side of the file. What I like to do is slightly overlap. So I'll go from my side to center in one direction. You don't want to file back and forth. If you file back and forth with too much pressure or you're using too coarse of a file, perhaps you grab the wrong side of the file and use the coarse side thinking it'll make it faster. You have to be aware that that could actually lead to separation of the nail layers down the road. Now we're going to use the Tweezerman shiner. We're going to start with the buffer, which is side 1, and then the shiner, which is side 2. The great thing is they're colored and numbered so you know which to use first. Start with the buffer and gently buff over the surface of the nail, and I'll do this on all 10 nails, and then I'll go back with my shiner and I'll gently buff over the top of the nails to get that high gloss shine. The reason I say gently is because the grit on these shiners are so smooth. If you buff really hard, it'll smooth out that grit and you won't get a full shine on all 10 of your nails. The key to any type of file sanding is to let the grit do the work. You just want to put a light amount of pressure and allow the abrasives to do their job. Otherwise it clogs it up and they're not as effective. I use a very delicate and soft touch and I let the abrasive do their job. This is the same techniques that I use on my celebrity clients, and now you could either polish at home or you're ready for polish when you go back to the salon.